Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from the beautiful metaverse and more specifically from beautiful Nashville, Tennessee, where I am visiting for Nashville Pagan Pride tomorrow. And this is Midday with Reverend Don. Welcome. And as you know, if you follow Midday with Reverend Don, you can type your questions or comments directly onto whatever platform you happen to be watching on, assuming that you're watching live, and they should show up here in my chat room, and we can talk directly. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about Hurricane Helene and the effects of that, and particularly as applicable to the pagan community. But of course, it's not only pagans that we're concerned about. And, it has been a very, very destructive event for thousands of people in many places throughout the Southeast. But I think particularly in the Asheville, North Carolina area, and that's primarily what I'm going to be talking about today, particularly because it's what I know most about to be able to comment. I have referred to, and hello to April in the chat room, it's good to see you. I've referred to the hurricane a few times during the week in terms of keeping the people who are affected by this in our prayers, but I haven't entirely been sure of what help I could offer, what helpful comments I could make. Today I have a few, and I have some suggestions for what you can do if you would like to support the people who are affected by this. And hello to Renee in the chat room. And in putting together today's program, I talked about how the hurricane affected pagans in the pagan community. But of course, I'm not suggesting that we should only help fellow pagans. I will, however, say that they may be in more need of help than some other communities, which will have a stronger institutional response. Most of our pagan and Wiccan churches do not really have any prepared way to respond to something like this. And I think that for our community, this is a time that we should be looking at that and trying to change it. The Order of Paladins in the past has attempted to work with this sort of thing. And certainly there are others who have worked with it to various levels. I remember many years ago being involved in a pagan community effort to raise help for Japan after the great tsunami of some years ago. But these things tend to be rather sporadic in our community. As we look at changes in climate, changes in weather, we really need to be creating a future institutional response to this sort of natural disaster. We're almost certainly going to need it. Speaking of Asheville, North Carolina, it is the home of one of the more vibrant pagan communities in the country. To have it hit so devastatingly is a major loss to our community. It will take them a long time to recover from this, and anything that we can do nationwide or even worldwide to help with that will be for the better. I've seen it remarked in various memes and the like that you don't see the wealthy pastors of megachurches running out to render hurricane aid, and that's certainly true, but I think we can agree that there are many more mainstream churches that are rendering significant aid in this circumstance. And for us as a community, the question of how we can also do this and why we don't do more of it is, I think, rather important to us to answer. Right now, in that Asheville area and surrounding areas, one of the people who is doing the most from our community in terms of coordinating and arranging disaster relief is Byron Ballard. Byron is a well-known author. She's been on this program. She's done all kinds of different things that we have covered or participated in, but this is probably the most important thing that she has done because of its direct effect on people's lives. And hello to Moondancer in the chat room. One of the things I think that often troubles our community, and Moondancer says Byron is doing a lot. Yes, she is. But I think as a community, we often have difficulty keeping our priorities in perspective. And hello to Bonnie Smith in the chat room. And Moondancer says, Mother's Grove is open and on the ground. Yes, indeed. But, you know, it's always good to write. It's always good to teach. But, you know, things that directly affect people's lives really are more important. And the kind of work that Byron is doing at this time, I'll say again, is probably the most important work that she has done and maybe that she will do. Maybe not, because she does some really remarkable things. But certainly among the most important work that she will do, because people are in a terrible state. So I thought what I would do is read some things to you that will give you some idea of what I'm talking about. And in response to this, Jeffrey Fager had the following thing to say on Ed the Pagans page, which I think is very relevant to our situation today. And Jeffrey says, please spread the word. We have 12,000 people unaccounted for, and this is not being covered by national media. We are one of the largest pagan communities in the Southeast. And he talks about sharing it to various different news agencies, The Wild Hunt, Witchcraft TV, IPR, and spread the word to the greater pagan community. We need help. And goes on to say, please call your governor, Congress, senators, and urge them to send assistance and National Guard members, and hold a mass ceremony and pray for us. And I want to, I will say the 12,000 missing people is a very large number. I do think the media has reported on that, but you know, probably not enough. Certainly not enough to someone who is at the site. I don't know that it could be enough to someone who is at the site. From this particular communication, the thing that I would encourage you to do is contact your governor and your legislators, encouraging them to send all assistance possible in the way of disaster relief. And Moondancer says they're turning volunteers away and shut down one pilot from going in to help. I've heard that also, and I am under the impression that to some extent that was a individual circumstance, but I don't really know. But probably the things that you can do that will be of greatest help probably is offering financial support from a distance. If you are inclined to physically go in, make sure you're working with an organization which can gain access, because you know it's a disaster area. People aren't necessarily being let in from outside, and that's not necessarily bad, because rescue personnel don't want to have to rescue someone who would not otherwise be there. And sometimes that happens. But I think that the organizations that are helping um, will be able to gain access. We want to say hello to Bonnie in the chat room and to Ed Carr in the chat room. And it's a terrible situation. Now, the Mother Grove Temple through Byron Ballard is very involved in this. You should probably contact them. But I have a list of organizations that that Byron recommends as places where you can give financial support and trust that it's going where it needs to. And these include Beloved Asheville. And I've heard quite a bit about the efforts of Beloved Asheville during this time. Their PayPal is at Beloved Asheville with capital first letters. Their Venmo is at Beloved-Asheville. Pansy Collective is another one that Byron is recommending. Their Venmo is at Pansy Collective. The Appalachian Medical Solidarity Asheville Survival Program is another one that Byron is recommending. And their Venmo is at AppMedSolid, and their Cash App is $streets1DE. And the final organization that I see here being recommended is WNC Rural Organizing and Resistance, with the acronym ROAR. And their PayPal is Rural Organizing and Resistance@gmail.com. And if you want more information on these, go to Byron's Facebook page. You can see them listed. Another one that I'm seeing recommended is those are the ones that I see Byron recommending. And I would recommend them also because I trust Byron to know what she is doing. She is very much boots on the ground, as they say, and very involved directly and personally in the relief efforts. And Bonnie says, are these posted somewhere? Go to Byron's page. I will after the program also share this on my page on Facebook. Moondancer says we got people in Asheville also. Scare House is open, and on the ground they have doors open to anyone in need. Cosmic Corner is collecting supplies to be taken to the Carolinas by the owner. Hello to Vivian in the chat room. Vivian says, I think no one was even close to being prepared for this event. There's been a lot of preppers helping out. It's worse than a lot of people think. And that's the impression that I'm getting. That it's worse than most of us have understood. And so if you're watching this program today, I think my main message to you is realize that this is significantly worse for the people in these areas than we might have anticipated from the normal storm. It is a significantly greater event in their lives. And the more help that we can provide, the better. And, to go back to my title for today's program, which referred to pagans affected by this event, I certainly am not suggesting that you limit your disaster relief efforts only to pagans. However, I do feel that our community will probably have less help than some. And so I think that we should be making an effort to help our own in particular, because they have us to come to, whereas their neighbors may have any number of other kinds of churches to go to. And I think that Byron should be widely celebrated for the work that she is doing. and is truly showing herself as one of the greater leaders of this generation. Bonnie says, yes, they were not prepared, and this only happens every 100 years or so. I've heard this described um, as a 100-year flood. And um, something that nobody was prepared for, because nobody's seen such a thing in this area for 100 years, apparently. And one of the things that I'm seeing stated frequently is that we're going to see more of it before we see less. And extreme weather events was always one of the predictions concerning climate change. And we are seeing an increase in extreme weather events. So we have to assume we're going to continue to. And as a community, we must be prepared for this, because in many cases, our people don't have the resources that certain other religious groups do. And we need now to take this as our message to create those resources. And hello to Nikki Draven in the chat room. Moondancer says, I would love to see a pagan org built for this purpose. And I would too. I would particularly love to see the Order of Paladins rise to this occasion. The Order of Paladins was founded back in the 1980s, has gone through a lot of changes over the years. And I would love to see them take an active role in working with this. And I would love to see every other group trying to do something. You don't have to send in an army to make a difference. Small acts are also helpful. So everybody can do something. And as we were reading earlier, even praying for the people, even doing ritual is helpful, at least for those of us who believe in these things. And Moondancer says, I've been trying to do this for Georgia for a very short period, about 6 months. I got my certification in 8 weeks. And, for those of us who are physically able to do so, becoming certified in the various skills that are needed for this kind of disaster relief might be something that would be well worth our doing. I'm not one of those people at this point in life, but I highly recommend it to those of you who are physically able to do that sort of thing. Not only so that you can perhaps go and help in a situation like this, but you don't know that it won't be your area next. Natural disasters can happen anywhere. With weather becoming more extreme, they may happen anywhere. And while we concern ourselves with relief in this disaster for these areas, we need to be mindful that it's not going to be the last one. Moondancer asks the group I said I would like to see rise to the occasion, the Order of Paladins. And they were designed particularly for this purpose. And I would like to see them become active in dealing with this. And at the same time, I would like to see more organizations focused on this sort of thing. We need them. And Bonnie says, Gaia is fickle. Well, we could look at it that way. But, it's like human illness. It's there to show us problems. And it can seem to be purely negative, but it often is part of correcting certain things. Of course, when you're in it, you don't see that, nor does it necessarily matter to you. I do believe the Earth is in the process of readjusting herself, but that isn't necessarily good for us. And we must take responsibility for making it as positive as possible for ourselves and for the rest of the world. Um, it is a very important mission. And, I can guarantee you that in Christian churches and Jewish synagogues across the country, um, people are doing various things to help with disaster relief. And we should be doing the same in our temples. Um, as was remarked earlier, it's significantly worse than people outside of the area thought initially that it was. Um, it's worse than I initially thought it was, to be sure. Having lived in Florida for many years, I've lived through a number of hurricanes, but this is apparently far worse than any of the ones that I saw were. Um, Whole cities are basically flooded out of existence, and the people from those areas are in terrible trouble. People who live in remote areas are in great danger. Some of them have been rescued. Some of them still need to be rescued. And the restoration of services, such as electric and running water, is not going to be overnight. It's going to take possibly quite a long while, because those floodwaters are still there. And you cannot just go in and repair something under a flood. So I want to go back through that list of charities that Byron recommends. And as I said, I will presently post them on my Facebook too, but you can find them on Byron Ballard's Facebook page. And they include Beloved Asheville, and their PayPal is Beloved Asheville. Their Venmo is @Beloved-Asheville. The Pansy Collective, whose Venmo is @Pansy Collective. The Appalachian Medical Solidarity / Asheville Survival Program. Their Venmo is @AppMedSolid. Their Cash App is $streets1DE. And finally, the WNC Rural Organizing and Resilience, acronym ROAR, whose PayPal is ruralorganizingandresilience@gmail.com. These are all very worthy organizations who are involved in disaster relief, who are recommended to us by Byron Ballard. Beyond this, things you can do are prayer and magic. Ritual, I would say that perhaps there have been a number of large rituals conducted with the intention of being community-wide. I think we could probably use some more. And less immediate, but no less important, is for the leadership and membership of our community to really be clearer on what we're going to do next time. These are things we can do now. Little of it is us physically doing anything. It's more our supporting others who are doing disaster relief. But in future, we need to be better prepared for something like this. We need to bear in mind that most large religious organizations do offer aid in crises like this. And we really ought to be able to do that too. And we need to have that in mind for the future. And I want to say hello to Felicity in the chat room, who thanks Byron for all that she does, and please keep these areas people and situations in your mind. That's the other thing that we can do, not forget about this as time goes on. Right now, there's a lot of need for emergency help. But, a month from now, there's still going to be a need for help. 2 months from now, there's still going to be a need for help because these things aren't going to be cleared up that fast. And we need to be mindful of that. We also need to be mindful, I think, of the role of governmental disaster relief and why this is important. There are certain people out there who tell you this should all be left to the churches. The government shouldn't be doing it. Our community in particular should know better than that, because even if our churches focus every effort, we are not nearly as wealthy as some others. People need non-sectarian help. In situations like this, we need help for the survivors of this disaster. And, I've often spoken about Project 2025. One of the things it calls for is eliminating things like FEMA aid and government disaster assistance, because they apparently don't feel that the government should be doing that. I hate to bring this back to politics, but it is politics. This kind of aid is vitally important. And no matter what our community does, no matter what the wider community does, most of the people in this area are going to be requiring that government aid in order to restart their lives. And most of them have spent their life paying taxes to that government. The idea that it should be able to help them in a moment of emergency does not seem at all egregious to me. And with that, we are nearing the end of our half hour, and I'm going to take a moment for a word from our sponsors, and then we shall return. And thank you to our sponsor, Equinox Learning Hub. And let us hear from our other sponsor, which is me.
Ready to unlock the secrets of the universe? Join me, Rev Don Lewis, for my metaphysical and magic auctions at Gaia Thrift at whatnot.com. Discover fascinating artifacts, mystical crystals, and rare and unusual books that could change your life. Don't miss this chance to bring a little magic into your world. Rev Don's Metaphysical and Magic Auctions, where the extraordinary can become yours.
And thank you to Rev Don's Metaphysical and Magic Auctions. Our next auction will be Sunday evening at 7 Central. It's an interesting time because, I asked myself, what should I talk about today? And there's so many things that need to be talked about all at once. And as I was saying the other day, I will be coming back to Project 2025. I will be coming back to politics and leadership, and I will be coming back to hurricane relief, because it's not a one program type of thing. It's something that we need to continue to focus on, continue to work with, both in the present and toward the future. And again, I will be posting some of what I've referred to on my Facebook page. You can find more at Byron Ballard's Facebook page. I recommend that probably above all sources. You can find some information on Ed the Pagan's page, And we will try to bring you more information. Here at Nashville Pagan Pride, there are some efforts going on for disaster relief that I will be reporting on over the weekend. And with that, I see that we've come to the end of our half hour. I thank you for your attention. And I can only say that there are so many things as a community that we need to do. And some of them we really should have done yesterday. And this is one of them. Granted, nobody was expecting this to be what it is, but logically, we should have known it was coming. And we must be prepared for the next one, and we must deal with this one as best we can. And so I ask you, if you're in the position to do so, to help with disaster relief for Hurricane Helene. If you're not in a financial position to do so, do ritual and send energy, send prayer, do what is possible for you to do. And with that, again, we've reached the end of our half hour. I will see you. I'll probably see you over the weekend, but I'll see you again on Monday. And let us close with our prayer, as we always do. Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you for all that you do for us in our lives, and we ask you to help us also to do for ourselves. Help us to deal with this unexpected event which has befallen our fellow people. Help us to give aid where we can, to give support where we can, to give encouragement where we can, and help us to be prepared for the future. Beloved Mother Goddess, beloved Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you with great love and thanks. Knowing you're always with us from respect, we thank you for your presence, and may you be blessed now and always. And I thank you for your presence. And again, I will see you on Monday and